let's get to mod B. I'm gonna have a quick drink of water because I don't think I've ever spoken more in my entire life. But let's talk about mod B. Hopefully we're talking in the live chat if you guys have any questions. A little bit awkward if I keep mentioning it and like no one's left. But I'm gonna be there, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Now mod B, I don't know. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. Personally, for me, if I had to rank the modules, I'm gonna put common mod. Yeah, I'm gonna put common mod on top. I really don't like the inconsistencies and the paradoxes. That's probably still one of the things that annoys me because I just feel like it's just such a nice module with the collective experiences, and it only like that's where they like bring it into confusion, and it makes sense, but like you just, who wants to write about that realistically? While writing about the personal and shared human experiences is definitely um just more chill. Like I never want to write an English essay, but I don't mind it and I don't hate it when it's on like a really simple question on personal and human experiences. But for I'd put module B second only because mod A, oh, it depends on what text you're doing, honestly. Mod A only annoys me because I feel like it really focuses on language, culture, and identity. Like, I get that that's the module title, but sometimes it can be hard to connect them. And sometimes, like, maybe language and identity go better together than language and culture, but then they end up asking you on language and culture. And I just feel like culture and language also really overlap. And that's the point, is that they all overlap, but it just makes it a little bit confusing at times. Anyways, this is the close study of literature. It's just really this mod B, and your mod B is just very kind of stock standard, as in like any essay question that you've ever gotten from year 7, where they can ask you about the meaning, the context, the language features, the personal interpretation, and the meaning and significance of the text. We're going to look at some of the most important things. So, what's an informed understanding, knowledge, and appreciation? So, by informed, you want to show some knowledge, guys. Could you guess that? For understanding, sorry, there is like a spot in my eye and I really can't see. So, I'm kind of like blind in one eye. I don't know what's going on there. Understanding and knowledge is to comprehend and have an awareness of a text's ideas. And appreciation is recognition or enjoyment of the valuable qualities from the text and really appreciating, me like, you know what, this is a great text. This is a great text. Guys, I actually have no clue what's going on. Oh my gosh, I pressed the wrong button. I don't know what's going on, or if there's like a lamp in my eye, so I don't know. I apologize for this physical issue. I don't know what's going on with my eye. I don't want to keep distracting you guys. Personal responses to the text in its entirety. So personal response is demonstrating your own engagement and interest in the text. Now, when it says personal response, I used to get confused because I was like, do they want me to write like, oh, this is how I felt about it, this, I was really interested in it? No. You will never, except for your reflection in creative writing, you are never going to use the word I in an essay. It's always going to be third person and really like formal. But when it says personal response, it's really just like your kind of take on it and what it taught you, but without saying it. So you can say which teaches us or which teaches readers to, and you can consider yourself the reader and say, well, like maybe if you read the poems, like Translucent Jade, it makes you reflect on if you've lost touch with your culture, and then you catalyze your own personal reflection on your childhood, and your memories with family. For example, just an example. Now, distinctive qualities are the characteristics that serve, and portrayal is just how different ideas and people affect one another in the text. Now, for audience impact, it is the unity of a text, its coherent use of form and language to produce an integrated whole in terms of meaning and value. So it's all about meaning and value. But guys, what's really annoying about mod B, and which is why I probably would, I don't even know if I'd put mod A or B on top. I feel like because of this, I'd kind of low key put mod A on top. But mod B only gets frustrating because there's a lot of focus on form, which is the genre of your text, but also the structure of it, and then language. So if you are doing Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, form is really good to talk about because they've got like the visual representation. You can talk about the chapters in prime numbers. Like there's really good examples of form, and it does apply for other texts as well, but there is a higher expectation for form and language in Module B. Now, there's also a thing called textual integrity, which they talk about, and textual integrity just means that it still has value. So maybe your text was made in the 1900s. Why are we studying it in 2023? Why would they put it on there? Because in Nessa's eyes, it still has values. So by having value, all it means is that it's still relevant. It's kind of timelessness and it's kind of universal. It's transcending time. It's got a lasting impact. It's got a continuous significance. And textual integrity is all about like what's the integrity of the text? Like, does it stay? Has it remained? Is it still important? And when you look at texts like Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, and some of the classics, how are they still so popular today? After so many years, how are they still, same with like Romeo and Juliet and some of Shakespeare's classics, like how are they still so popular today hundreds of years later? Because they've got enduring value, because they're timeless and they're transcending time by using such universal themes. So that's something you can add in. um you have studied your text closely. It's up to, I'm not actually sure how much of module B you guys would have finished, because I know for some of my tutoring students they still have just started it. um, but this is how you can challenge questions. So let's look at this one. Relationships occupy our understanding of Robert Gray's poetry. To what extent do you agree with it? Um, this is an example where you don't necessarily always have to agree with the question. So what this sample paragraph is doing, it's saying that yes, relationships in poetry is important, but the relationship between the individual and the environment shows more about the provided distinctive qualities. So you don't necessarily always have to agree with the question. Like if you look at it and you're like, you just kind of feel like, no, like that's not going to match my essay, don't answer. You don't. There's not like they give you the question in that case um with purpose, and so that you can have that choice to disagree if you wanted to, if you wanted to. um but yeah, for getting a band 6 in it, again, it's really all the same thing. So I'm showing you all these different examples, but the actual things to do are all the same. It's just responding to the questions using the key words, providing relevant themes, and suggesting audience impact. Incorporating textual integrity no matter what. Like, I don't care what question you guys get, guys. What question you guys get, guys. I don't care what question you get. If you're watching this lecture, please just write about textual integrity, even just once. Even just once, add it into your intro, sprinkle it in. It's one of those little things that you can do to really stand out. But it just shows that your text is unique and that it has timelessness. It's just going to make your markers happy. We want to make them happy. We want to get brownie points, so we're going to do it. Now, in terms of how to incorporate it, this is the difference between the two. So you want it to round off your analysis and then link it back to the module. So you can say, therefore, studying Hurley through the lens of Nash documentary cautions us how media can be manipulated to serve an agenda. Or you can say, therefore, studying Hurley through the lens of Nash documentary reminds us that media has an ongoing influence over how we understand the world and urges us today to be mindful and critical of its manipulation to serve certain agendas. Chef's kiss. But they're both saying the same thing. The second one just has more of that personal opinion and influencing us on how we understand today and urges us. And it's much more about the effect of us today. So what's important to remember with Mod B, a lot of people when they're talking about Mod B and they're writing their Mod B essays, you do bring up context occasionally, and sometimes it can come up, and I definitely recommend writing about it here and there in your Mod B essay. But the context and like maybe like the reason why your author wrote it, for that audience, there's a contextual audience, which is the audience they wrote it for at the time, and then there's a contemporary audience, which is us. So it is really important to remember and to just try and get some better marks in Mod B. You're not only talking about, well, how did the text go at that time, and did they like it, and was there a bad reaction, and what was going on in that world. It's also, well, how is it still timeless today? So this is a paragraph from Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. But it's actually got the quote. So quotes in here. So if you are doing it, you are all good to take a screenshot and use this. But again, it's answering the question, integrating the key words. So it's got Haddon's novel illustrates that the ideal of a novel family is an unattainable goal, harnessing the unconventional style of the novel to highlight the strong connections that arise from the abnormal family. And that really fits with the how like the distinct language is working. Um and then using such distinct language and such different language fits such a different plot, and the message of it 100%. And that last sentence, I feel like all these last sentences are chef's kiss, like how it explores deep interpersonal connections that extend towards having a lasting, meaningful impact on readers today. Kiss. That last line you can use for any text. I don't care what text you're doing. You guys can all use it. Now, in terms of constructing notes for Mod B, again, if you wanted to try this technique, this is what a lot of people online are doing with their notes. Personally, I just had my like Mod B quotes, my technique and analysis on flashcards, and then I also memorized just some general statements, and just some really good lines. Like I would honestly memorize something like this, like explores deep personal connections that extend towards having a lasting, meaningful impact. Like I would actually memorize something like that only because you can use that no matter what. Like that's always going to come up, and that's what I mean. The context of the text and the meaning of it is never going to change. It's only what you're linking it to. So